Hello everybody, this is Melvin Pillay. What a joy it is to talk with you. It is my passion to teach people how to do business God's way. I'm on a mission, as a matter of fact, to teach people how to do business His way through a mandate which I call God's mandate for business. But my friends, I was not always a business teacher and educator. My life actually starts in rural South Africa. I was born in a tiny little village. We lived in a tin shack nailed together literally by sheet metal. We were so poor. Now, of course, we had running water. We had to run out in the park and get it. I often joke with people, we were so poor growing up, we used to go to KFC and lick other people's fingers. Yes, my friend, I travel around as a young man on the Greyhound. Not the bus, the dog. But friend, this is how my life was, born into nothingness and hopelessness. I never ever believed that I would achieve anything. Moments in my life when I came to total despair. I had moments and trials that I actually rather wanted to kill myself than to face another day. Oh, but there is somebody out there, always watching over the ways of man. You see, as a little boy, my mom told me stories about this great God called Jesus. There were some missionaries who had come to her school, and they were from America. And they told her about this great God called Jesus. She accepted Him and went home and told her parents about this God. Well, it didn't go down very well for them because they were Hindus. So when my mom was married and we were born, she'd tell us about this great God called Jesus. She will say, my son, if you want anything in life, just pray to Jesus. He will give you what you want. This great God, Jesus, who lives in America. I often joke with people, my friends, and say to them, it's okay if you don't know your theology very well. As long as you know the God of the Bible, as long as you know God. Now, knowing the Bible is extremely important, but we must know the God of the Bible as well. So my mom taught me that whatever I want, I could ask God in prayer. I use this in my life. And there came a point where a turning happened. Just like for you and for me, God will orchestrate moments where you know that only God could have done it. Well, it was a Saturday, a day like any other. I went out for a walk that morning with my one pair of shorts and my t-shirt with holes in it. I call it my holy t-shirt. As I went out, I saw an airplane fly overhead. I started to chase that airplane, wanting that plane to take me out of this hopelessness and despair, which was my life. As that plane drifted into the heavens, I remember pointing to it and saying, one day I'm going to fly in you and I'm never going to stop flying. Well, today, more than 30 plus years later, I travel just about 9 months out of the year, talking to people in different countries, teaching them how to do business God's way. Friend, there is one so great who knows so much about business, and I want to share Him with you, not just the principles. I want to talk to you about the Prince Himself. What does He mean, and what does He say, and what does He expect and command us about business and leadership? From there in rural South Africa, we helped our brother go to law school. We all came together as a family and he worked himself. He went to law school, graduated, and that was going to be the greatest moment of our lives. He was going to be the guy that took us out of poverty. But something so tragic happened. After my brother graduated law school, we got a call from his wife one day to say that he had tragically drowned. Oh, it destroyed our family. My mom and dad both, their hearts were broken. They never recovered. A couple of years later, my mom died of a broken heart. And then not too much longer, my dad passed away. But the good news is they both gave their hearts to the Lord. before they went home to be with him. At that moment, I decided to pack 2 bags, go to New Zealand and make enough money to support my family. And I had a secret goal. I just wanted to buy a brand new dress for my mother. At that time, she was still alive. I go to Auckland, New Zealand. I pack 2 suitcases and I head off, because that's all you need, right? Well, at least that's what we see in Hollywood. 2 suitcases and a dream. Oh, but when I went there, I found out that is not reality. Thankfully, I got a job as an alarm salesman, going door to door selling house alarms. Now, I joke with people. People loved me, but they didn't love me that much to give me the money for the alarms. So I struggled so much. Eventually, I got kicked out of the boarding house where I lived because I didn't have the money to pay the rent. Thanks be to God, the manager of the company took pity on me. He really liked me. He said, if you can sleep on the company floors, I'll give you this free accommodation. Well, I was a learning salesman. I thought it was a great deal. So I took the deal. And I slept on the company floors, and before the staff came in, I'd get up and I'd go away. In the morning, my friends, I'd have a glass of water and dried bread. That would be breakfast and that would be lunch. But here's the beautiful thing. Every night that I went out to sell my alarms, and even though people didn't buy the alarms, they always fed me before I left. Now, I attribute that to something very important. That is, you will reap that which you sow. If you don't, your children will. You see, my mom, she would feed the children in the neighborhood. She'll take a little bit of rice and beans and cook and feed the children. The neighbors would laugh at her and say, you stupid woman, you are so poor. Why are you feeding all the neighborhood children when your own children are so poor? And my mom would say to them, because one day my children will be out in the world somewhere and somebody would do the very same thing to them and for them. Friends, you will reap that which you sow. Well, eventually, as a struggling salesperson, I got even worse. You know, the story does get better here, okay? It was a day like no other. A day that a miracle changed my life. I went out door knocking. Something told me, go into this public library. Now, when you're a struggling salesperson, you don't want to go read more books. But I go into this library, and as I go into the library, something tells me, scan the audiobook section. And as I do, I find a tape with a man with a very interesting name, Zig Ziglar. Now, something is telling me at that time, rent this tape. Now, it costs $2 to rent the tape. Now, you know as well as I do that $2 is a lot of money when you don't have one. Thank God I had $2. I rented the tape. I played the tape. And from the time he opened his mouth till the end of the tape, I had tears rolling down my face, because he said some things to me that dramatically changed my life. I put his teaching into practice. From a struggling salesperson friend, I became the top salesperson, and eventually I owned my own dealership of that company. But then, when he came to the end of his tape, when I was firstly listening to it, he said, and I'll see you at the top. As a Hindu at that time, I thought he meant, I'll see you in heaven. I said, okay, Mr. Ziglar, I too want to see you in heaven. That became the most miraculous turning point of my life, giving my heart to the Lord Jesus Christ. And then I launched out into ministry, working and teaching people how to do business God's way. So it is my passion to teach all of God's people His mandate for business and leadership. And it is my joy to do this for you. Join me at one of my workshops or the boot camp or my new series called Fully Immersed One-on-One. It's a 3-hour session for people in business and leadership. It will absolutely encourage and inspire, and I believe hopefully change your life so that you too can achieve all that God has for your life. This is your friend Melvin Pillay, and what a joy it is to be here. What a joy it is to share the good news in business and leadership, my friend. God is for you, so no man can be against you. May God bless you and His shalom be upon you and your business all the days of your life. Thank you.